middle.
From death to life, we walk in freedom. From death to life.
I woke up this morning, I got up and prayed. I'm thanking the Lord for another good day. I kept it simple, no need to explain. Yeah. The devil thought he had me, I got away. Yeah. Don't it feel good when you've been in his presence? Yeah. Walking with him ain't no second guessing. Yeah. Some call it luck, but I call it a blessing. Yeah. He give me peace, ain't no need to be stressing. He never gave up on me. His promises he'll always keep. He paid the price just for me, yeah.
Yeah, paid the price just for me. Road change set me free. I was blind but now I see. Daddy opened up the sea just so I could walk through that with my family. I know some people they aren't understanding me, but that's okay. That's why I'm at it planting seeds, hoping that one day they'll see the whole planet be kneeling before you. Lord, we adore you. There's no one after and none before you. I'm so thankful. Yeah. Don't it feel good when you've been in his presence? Yeah. Walking with him ain't no second guessing. Yeah. Some call it luck, but I call it a blessing. Yeah. He give me peace, ain't no need to be stressing. He never gave up on me. His promises he'll always keep. He paid the price just for me, yeah. Gave him my all, now I'm free.
Woke up this morning, I got up and prayed.
I'm thanking you, Lord, for another good day.
I kept it simple, no need to explain.
Never thought he'd hear me, I got away.
Devil's playing fiddle, demons coming like a missile. To my left, to my right, but I ain't be dancing with them. I got angels watching over me, fighting all my enemies. Wear 'em out, knock 'em down, about to taste that victory. Hey, hey, they can try to slow me, thinking that they own me. They be thinking crazy. Hey, welcome to the showdown. They about to find out. When I got you, I am unstoppable. When I got you, nothing's impossible. No way I lose. I am unbeatable, powerful, stronger than invincible. I feel bulletproof when I got you. When I got you. See these arrows in my quiver, winner, winner, chicken dinner. If I'm bitten by the serpent, you'll be sucking at the venom. I got someone watching over me, fighting all my enemies. See that smile on my face, start to taste that victory. Hey, hey, they can try to slow me, thinking that they own me. They be thinking crazy. Hey, welcome to the showdown. They about to find out.
Hey, man.
When I got you, I am unstoppable. When I got you, nothing's impossible. No way I lose. I am unbeatable, powerful, stronger than invincible. I feel bulletproof when I got you. When I got you. When I got you. When I got you. That's my dad, I'm his son. He's gonna make that devil run. That's my dad. That's my dad. That's my dad, I'm his son. Watch him make that devil run. That's my dad. That's my dad. That's my dad, and I'm his son. He's gonna make that devil run. That's my dad. That's
Standing on the edge now, feeling pretty brave. Time for another round, a leap of faith. When it comes to the unknown, he ain't found me yet. But down once again, raise that ugly head. I said, hey now, need room to breathe. Heart's going thump, thump, thump. Hey now, maybe count to three. Okay, 1, 2, 3, now jump. Whoa, here I go. Whoa, leaving the ground. Whoa, here I go. Feeling really brave, but don't look down. I said, whoa, here I go. Whoa, ready to fly. Whoa, here I go. Scared to death, but for the first time I'm alive. Here I am back again, trying to find my nerve. Thought it'd get easier, it's just a second verse. Lord, gotta give me strength. Is it faith or fear? Do I take the leap, or do I stay right here? I said, hey now, need room to think. Heart's beating through my chest. Hey now, maybe count to three. No, push me better yet. Whoa, here I go. Whoa, leaving the ground. Whoa, here I go. Feeling very brave, but don't look down. I said, whoa. Scared to death, but for the first time I'm alive. Woo, here I go. Woo, leaving the ground. Woo, here I go. Feeling pretty brave, but don't look down. I said, whoa, here I go. Whoa, leaving the ground. Whoa, here I go. Feeling pretty brave, but don't look down. I said, whoa, here I go. Whoa, ready to fly. Whoa, here I go. Scared to death, but for the first time I'm alive.
Hey, look, gas tank is about on E. I bet we can still make it to the beach and back. Not stressing about a salary, cause all the best things in life are free. In fact, money never gonna change my worth. In the end, we all end up dirt. If you ask me how much I earn, I'll tell you that I'm a rich man, 'cause I got you by my side. 10 million reasons I'm grateful to be alive. I'm a rich man, not wealthy as they come. All just because I woke up with some air in my lungs. So I'm a rich man. Fridge out at the groceries. I bet we can still make it through the week with that. Not stressing about a calorie. Cause I know God feeds all the birds. In fact, money never gonna change my worth. In the end, we all end up dirt. If you ask me how much I earn, I'll tell you that I'm a rich man, 'cause I got you by my side. 10 million reasons I'm grateful to be alive. I'm a rich man, how wealthy as they come. All just because I woke up with I got a little and it all just felt the same. If I get the world, then what did I really gain? Except a couple faces who don't know my mama's name. If you got some people that love you, warm breeze around you, the good God above you, I don't think that we can get much more from life than that. So if you ask me, I will state the fact that I'm a rich man. 'Cause I got you by my side. 10 million reasons I'm grateful to be alive. I'm a rich man, how wealthy as they come. All just because I woke up with some air in my lungs. So I'm a rich man. When I'm overwhelmed within from the weight of all my sin, I need a friend to call my own. I need a house to call my home. When I'm broken down inside and there's nowhere else to hide, I need a place where I feel known. Can someone help me? Then I hear you reply, bringing teardrops to my eyes, saying I'm not alone. Oh Lord, I need you now more than ever. Would you put my heart back together? I searched the world till my head hurt just to find out your ways better. Oh, oh, your ways better. Oh, oh, your ways better. Oh Lord, your ways better.
All right.
Jesus, your ways better. Lord, I am so
All right, Landon, are we good on the live stream?
that you bless me. Everything you
Hey.
say, making waves like
All right.
you love every
Here we
part
go,
of me,
guys.
even
Want to remind you, thank you, first of all, for the awesome crowd of spectators out tonight. I want to remind you guys tonight that the topics are, and this is why we picked these, it's kind of, they're both along the same lines, as the same theme. We're kind of questioning and wrestling with what's the blend of constitutionality with the free market and where certain things should fall in line with both of those. So that's the nature of these questions. We've talked about other stuff, but we're going to hit on constitutionality tonight and free market and how those two things work together, okay? So I'm going to read the prompt for our first debate, and then we'll get going. Medical practitioners should be required to obtain a state-issued license to practice medicine. That is the prompt that this first debate will be about, and we have our opposing and affirmative teams led by Nick and Sam.
Would the affirmative team opening speech please approach the podium? Your time starts now.
Here we go. Thank you to the opposition, the judges, and the audience for being here with us tonight. Our topic tonight will be speaking on medical practitioners. For definition's sake, a medical practitioner is a physician or surgeon who is skilled in the science of medicine. Our point tonight is very simple. Medical licenses are the world's standard for a good reason. Fortunately for us today, we have decades of history showing exactly what the absence of state-issued medical licenses looks like. In the 19th century, the United States had minimum restrictions on medical practice. This led to many charlatans and evildoers enacting much harm on the general population. This spurred the initial need in the nation for medical licensing. As innovation in medical practices increased in the late 19th century, so did the need for regulation. Our argument is proven tonight. Our medical is important and vital of an industry to be unregulated. Our doctors must be proven to be experienced and educated on current medical practices. The presence of medical licenses, while in many different shapes and forms, are present among virtually every country on this planet. Medical licenses are necessary for the protection and the health of both patients and providers. An abolition of medical licenses is a dangerous and remotely unheard of argument in the realm of modern medicine. Medical licensing is vital to the protection and well-being of the individual as well as the practitioner. One of the ways in which this is accomplished is through the application of state medical boards. These boards are granted power to revoke a practitioner's license if patient safety or public trust is compromised. The safety net is put in place to keep an industry standard while ensuring an honest and safe treatment for the individual. The numerous advancements in the field of medicine have made it impossible for consumers to accurately research physicians. For example, a study conducted by Hibbard and Jewett in 1997 determined that consumers fail to use quality information when determining a provider. Rather, they tend to focus on interpersonal skills when making their decision. Let's play out a hypothetical. Your child is requiring a major emergency surgery. Time is not on your side. An operation must be undergone immediately. How do you go about finding the right surgeon for your child? How would you vet the potential medical practitioners to a degree that gives you comfort to hand over the security, health, and well-being of your child? How would you go about that? The majority of the nation would have not the slightest clue on where to go to do their due diligence on their medical treatment. If your child's life was on the line, how would you go about it? Medical licensure creates uniformity among this industry that is so vital to the well-being of our country. This was something identified as early as 1870. During this period in our nation's medical history, many alternative methods of medical treatments were being practiced. Some of these were incredibly dangerous, such as bloodletting, mercury injections, and other forms of pseudoscience. Many were being harmed or even killed by these practices. One of the major reasons that medical licensing was established was to create a standard of medical practice. Without medical license, we would have no baseline standard to keep unethical, immoral, or uneducated practices from entering the medical field. We will not argue tonight that the United States medical system has no need for reform or revitalization in these areas. Whether it be steep pricing, overregulation, or monopolistic processes put in place by Big Pharma, there is an abundant need for change. Both our opposition and we will no doubt agree on this foundation. What we disagree on is the solution. We would argue that reform and deregulation are needed while still having accountability and protections that are included for the citizens of our country. History and evidence prove that these protections are needed. If the medical standard was removed, a doctor would be more susceptible to lawsuits. There must be a baseline standard established by these medical licenses to prove a doctor's proper practice in court. Common sense and history reveal clearly what an absence of medical licensure would look like. The system protects our citizens and preserves the lives of many in our country. Our stance is rooted in history, precedent, and common reason. Our opponents is in failure and imaginative, unrealistic policy. Thank you.
Would opposing team opening speech please approach the podium? Your time begins now.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to thank our instructors, opponents, and the audience for being here today and for showing interest in this very important topic. We are here to debate whether medical practitioners should be required to obtain a state-issued medical license. This is not a discussion about their medical degree, training license, or even a local license. I invite you to travel back to me to the 1700s, where anyone could be a doctor without any formal regulations. Some individuals had received institutionalized training, many had not. For example, a wife who had skills in using herbs, sewing, and treating wounds for her husband and family could offer care to her neighbors and anyone else in need. On June 10, 1760, New York passed one of the first regulation laws on medical practice, requiring practitioners to be examined and approved by a medical board. The original intent of this was to prevent untrained individuals from harming patients. However, medical societies exploited its good intent and used it as a gatekeeping method rather than a safety net, preventing capable individuals from entering the field. Jumping to 1847, we see the American Medical Association first being founded. This non-governmental organization wanted to standardize education for medical practitioners, overview all procedures, and regulate licensing. They argued that regulation would protect people from dangerous doctors and practices. Before the AMA, those who provided care ran local hospitals, taught in schools, and held public office. However, as laws began to tighten, they were excluded, defunded, and by the 1920s, all alternative options outside of the AMA were forced to close. A clear example of this exclusion is the role midwives have in childbirth. Before its radical shift, childbirth was viewed as a social event exclusive to women, not a medical procedure. New regulations didn't just alter doctors, but redefined childbirth itself. At the time, physicians, mainly men, pushed the idea that childbirth was dangerous, suggesting a medical intervention. In the early 1900s, campaigns labeled midwives as dirty, ignorant, superstitious, and a threat to both mother and child. Additionally, early hospitals had high infection rates, leading to an increase in infant mortality. While hospitals were mandated to sanitize their equipment in the 1950s, enforcement of these sanitation codes did not occur until 2008. Alternative medicine wasn't banned. It was regulated out of existence. Our argument against requiring state-issued medical license is built on three core pillars. First, enforcing state-issued medical license infringes on the principle of individual liberties, both for patients and for doctors. For patients, the government control reduces their options by determining how many doctors are certified through funding and specific criteria. For doctors, mandatory school requirements cause a significant financial burden, and the requirement of vaccinations and gender-affirming care pose moral challenges for talented practitioners to obtain a license from the state. If these laws assume that the state knows best, who really decides what is safe? The government or the patients exercising their own judgment? Second, this licensing system not only impedes on the free market, but it cripples it entirely. When the market isn't allowed to set its own standards, it easily becomes impersonal, unnecessarily complex, and a tool for political leverage. We can already observe these issues in our current healthcare system. If these laws give certain doctors tools while excluding others, does that protect patients, or does it just enrich the powerful at the expense of choice, affordability, and competition? And finally, doctors and hospitals have the ability to perform their jobs without the guidance or restriction of state licensing. In fact, these specific tasks performed by medical personnel might be accomplished much more effectively if they had been less regulated. Why should we assume that the centralized top-down licensing produces better care than our trusted local providers? This debate has been discussed as far back as the early 1700s. Over the years, we have seen an accumulation of power among the elite groups, the suppression of alternative practices, a shift from public safety to control under the mask of standardization, all with a minimal impact on public health. Reflecting on this history, we must prioritize a system that advocates for true public health instead of catering to the interests of a select few. As you hear from the other speakers tonight, I strongly urge you to consider what is truly best for the people, according to the foundational principles our country stands on. Thank you.
We are now moving into the first group of cross-examinations. Would affirmative interrogator and opposing defender please approach the podiums? Affirmative interrogator, your time begins now.
Thank you, judges. Thank you, audience. And thank you, opposing team. We are arguing over the statement, medical practitioners should be required to obtain a state-issued license to practice medicine. Are you aware that that is what we are arguing and not that the current system in place works effectively and is perfect and flawless? Yes. Okay. Without state-issued medical licenses, what single entity would have the legal authority to investigate complaints and permanently bar a dangerous practitioner from practicing medicine? Have y'all thought about this at all? Could you restate it in a different manner? So without the current system of state-issued medical licenses and the revocation system, so if a medical practitioner is involved in malpractice or other malicious intent or other things happen, if they do something wrong, then how the enforcement works currently is their medical license can be revoked and they can no longer practice medicine. What system, if not through state licensing, would be as effective or similar?
Sure. So removing state licenses, you still have possible licensing from local hospital districts or local medical practitioners institutions at the local sphere. And so if there is a problem that arises from the patient to the doctor, the complaint could be taken to the local level, the local court system, and the criteria.
Civil court system?
Local court system, possibly, dependent on whether the medical institution has certain regulations or not. If it is against those local regulations, then they could be held accountable for those.
Okay, understood. So do you think a malpractice lawsuit, can it immediately stop a practitioner from continuing to treat patients the way a licensing board can through suspension and revocation?
That is up to the judgment of the local doctor and the local medical institution, whether that be a hospital or a clinic.
Okay, is there a consequence in any alternate system like you're talking about that is equivalent to revoking someone's legal right to practice medicine altogether? Because the system that's in place right now, the checks and balances are very quick and they are very direct. If you go through a civil lawsuit, it takes much time, it takes way too much money, and you can't actually get them to stop practicing. You can't get them to stop practicing medicine. You can only basically have them lose money through a civil court.
Is that a question?
That is a question. So is that going to be as effective as revoking their medical license?
I believe so. It's closer to the people. The people have the opportunity to speak with their local doctors. They are more accountable to the doctors, and the doctors are more accountable to their patients. So yes, I would say it is actually better for the patient and the doctor.
So to summarize, your system removes preventative oversight, delays enforcement until after harm occurs, fragments responsibility, and eliminates the strongest professional sanction we have, license revocation. Does that sound about right?
No.
Okay, where was I wrong?
It removes state licenses, and I do not believe it fits the qualifications that you stated in your question.
Okay, so where does accountability go?
Accountability goes
straight
to
to
the
civil
local
court?
sphere. Local sphere. Local doctors, local medical institutions such as clinics or hospitals.
Thank you for your time. Would cross-examination group 1 with opposing interrogator and affirmative defender please approach the podiums? Opposing interrogator, your time will start now.
Thank you. Licensing doesn't actually protect consumers as dramatically as you are saying. Medical error under state licensed medical professionals kills up to an estimated 98,000 Americans every year, which makes it a leading cause of death in the United States. Why do you think it logical to continue to use a system that isn't sparing life as dramatically as you're arguing?
Can you rephrase your question? What was the last part of that right there?
Due to the amount of malpractice present in this system, regardless of how well-regulated you are arguing that it is, what makes the loss of personal choice worth this system?
I don't believe it is lost personal choice. I think that the current system protects quality control and a lot of different things that are necessary to have actually decent doctors. So we're not saying that they have to reach this high. It's basically we are trying to have a required state-issued license. That means a practitioner must prove a minimum level of competence before treating patients. Not saying that they have to achieve a crazy high standard, just that they have to know the bare minimum. That's what this accomplishes.
But even if citizens don't understand the intricacies of medicine, market will compensate by making way for the development of various private qualifications, similarly to how General Electric has dictated the standard for much machinery and electrical equipment. What area of market do you know of that has not compensated for this gap in this way?
Well, when you're looking at the free market in the medical world, we do want to encourage the free market, of course. That's a timeless truth that we want to protect. The problem is that if you open it up to accountability only through civil lawsuit, the only way to vet medical practitioners would be through reputation and through time. That comes only through, like, basically, the only way you would know if somebody's good at their job or not is through if they've been doing it for a long time. That means there's going to be a set amount of doctors that people are going to go to, and the rest of them they will not. And they will only trust those ones that have been in the trade for a very long time and who apprentices under them, hence creating a monopoly there. So it's a catch-22 and a double-edged sword. The current system that we have in place, it needs a lot of work. We are not arguing that the system in place is perfect. We are arguing that the bones of it are good or are the least bad, basically.
But regarding those bones, the government that is controlling our ability to access specific practitioners and controlling that licensing system is the same government that you're saying is trustworthy to deduce making a good practitioner when the current status quo they have established includes the killing of unborn children, mutilation of genitalia in minors, and gender dysphoria affirming hormonal treatments. How can you come to grips with that?
The question comes down to who decides. Do you want the federal government to decide? Do you want the state government to decide, local, or do you want it to be completely open? It sounds like y'all's argument is the local government and opening up to civil lawsuit, where ours is the state government. We definitely don't want it in the hands of the federal government, but I believe where it is at with the state government, with the elected officials that are put in place there, is an effective system.
Your time has expired. We are now moving on to rebuttals and arguments. Would the affirmative team rebuttal and arguments please approach the podium? Your time will start now.
Thank you. Our opponent spoke on issues such as overregulation and health standards that they did not personally agree with. I will remind the audience, our prompt tonight is regarding the presence of state-issued medical license, not that our current system is perfect or ideal. We need not scrap an entire system when all it needs is proper reform. Through licensing, state medical boards ensure that all practicing physicians have appropriate education and training, and that they abide by recognized standards of professional conduct while serving their patients. Obtaining a license to practice medicine in the U.S. is a rigorous process. Those entertaining the profession must meet predetermined qualifications that include medical school graduation, postgraduate training, and passage of comprehensive national medical licensing examinations that test their knowledge of health and disease management and effective patient care. Applicants must submit proof of their education and training and provide details about their work history. Only those who meet a state qualifications are granted permission to practice medicine in that state. Nowhere in history has the removal of medical licensing been proven to be effective. When medical licensings were taken away in the 1800s, the quality of medical practice fell drastically. As we have discussed, the 1800s held many dangerous and harmful medical practices, which resulted in thousands of deaths. This ultimately caused state-issued licenses to be reinstated 70 years later, due to the incohesive and incompetence of doctors. This is a major example that displays how licensing directly protects patient safety by setting and enforcing minimum qualifications. For instance, state medical boards require education, clinical training, passage of national exams like the USMLE, background checks, and ongoing ethical standards. These may seem like exhaustive requirements. However, in medicine, where errors can be catastrophic, the precautionary principle applies. It is better to have a controlled entry barrier than unchecked risks. This ultimately ensures that doctors qualified to practice medicine on patients. The main idea of medical licenses is not to forbid good doctors from practicing. The reason for medical licenses is to keep the unqualified, unable, and immoral from practicing. By requiring medical practitioners to obtain a state-issued medical license to practice medicine, it creates a very simple and outlined system of checks and balances. If there was no state-issued license, then the only way to be able to hold them accountable for medical malpractice would be through civil court and lawsuit, which could cost a lot of money and time and bandwidth. Relying on the free market catching up with the medical industry is very risky play. The free market may catch up with the medical industry. However, there is no guarantee when you remove medical licenses. California actually had to ban Chinese bloodletting in 2010, which is a direct example of how the free market was not keeping up with the medical industry. This was a practice proven to be dangerous. The market will not keep up. Rather, removing licenses actually just allows people with crazy views on medicine to practice on patients and communities. This is again displayed historically, as widespread state licenses in the early 20th century contained poorly trained practitioners, and outright fraud was rampant, leading to unnecessary deaths and suffering. The Federation of State Medical Boards and AMA emphasized that licensing's core mission is public protection. Without this gatekeeping, anyone could claim the title doctor and exploit vulnerable people. It is essential for states to maintain control over medical licensing and professional standards because when there is a lack of strong, active supervision and strict enforced rules in a healthcare system, the safety, privacy, and well-being of individual patients are put at high risk. State-based licensure acts as a necessary safeguard, ensuring that practitioners have met standardized, validated requirements regarding education, training, and ethical conduct, rather than relying on self-proclaimed expertise. Would you not agree that patients deserve the assurance that their doctor meets a state-verified standard, not just a self-proclaimed one? Thank you.
Elena, just want to let you know we actually had a mistake on the clock. You have 1 more minute if you want to use it. You're good? Okay. We're getting that fixed right now. These rebuttals should be 6 minutes, so okay, there we go.
Opposing rebuttals and arguments, please approach the podium. Your time will start now.
Ladies and gentlemen, judges, thank you for allowing us to speak tonight. So far, you have heard some great arguments from both sides. Our opposition is attempting to make the case that medical practitioners must be required to obtain a state-issued license in order to practice medicine. I will ask you a question that anyone who has attended any Patriot Academy Leadership Congress knows by heart. Who decides? Whether the government should intercede in matters of medical practice is the heart of both positions. The affirmative has failed to offer any conclusive evidence that they should. I will want to read you a couple quotes from our founding fathers. John Locke said, "Persons have a right or liberty to not be subject to the inconstant, uncertain, unknown, and arbitrary wills of others." Thomas Jefferson said, "The care of human life and happiness, and not their destruction, is the first and only object of good government." And he was also quoted as saying, "The error seems not sufficiently eradicated that the operations of the mind, as well as the acts of the body, are subject to the coercion of the laws, but our rulers can have authority over such natural rights only as we have submitted to them. The rights of conscience we never submitted. We could not submit. We are answerable for them to our God. The legitimate powers of government extend to such acts only as are injurious to others." This makes it clear that our founding fathers said that only the rights listed in the Constitution should be given to the states and to the federal government. The affirmative has argued that state-issued licenses will ensure the standardization of care and that without licenses, anybody could claim to be a doctor. But I ask you this, will standardization help or hurt patients? The government can set standards, but do they truly understand the medical practices? Can they enforce them? Can a body made up of people, most of whom know next to nothing about medical practices, accurately set a standard? As Hannah said in her opening speech, the government standards did not enforce the sterilization of medical tools until 2008. We've known about germs for over 300 years, and it wasn't until 17 years ago that doctors were required to clean up after themselves. You should note that Mr. Peterson cited several points as merely his own personal opinion. While I respect Mr. Peterson, his personal opinions are irrelevant to this argument. The points here are the many statistics showing the harms licenses have incurred upon both doctor and patient alike. They have made the case for malpractice that if malpractice cannot result in a doctor's license being revoked, then the doctor can simply continue to practice bad medicine. But should licenses be done away with, then the malpractice suits will simply result in either significant fines for the doctor or, in more serious cases, jail time, which will keep them from practicing, and it will also significantly show to their patients what kind of doctor they are, resulting in them going to a better doctor. This issue is a personal one for my family. When my parents first met, they had two specific plans for their future. They were going to homeschool and they were going to have children at home. They did not want to have their children at the hospital for the following reasons. Births at a hospital have a higher risk of C-section, a higher risk of serious infection or infant death, a higher infant mortality rate. Parents lack control and choices in the birth of their child. The cost of home birth versus hospital birth is immeasurably cheaper. You will get threats from the hospital staff if you make choices against their advice, and they'll refer you to CBS if you do so. There are reports of the hospital staff performing procedures against the parents' will. They were concerned that the hospital procedures worsen maternal and infant outcomes. The hospitals prioritize invasive procedures over less invasive alternatives. Once you go to the hospital, they take authority over you and your baby. My parents believe that the father has that authority, not the hospital. In the words of my father, Hospitals are for medical events. Normal births are not a medical event. They made a decision that was right for their children. State-issued licenses of any sort give the public a false sense of confidence. Both the best doctor and the worst doctor are approved by the state. Private medical associations are in a better position to qualify physicians for these positions. The affirmative has yet to give substantial proof without a shadow of a doubt, that state-issued medical licenses are necessary. What is evident is that they in fact limit the free market, promote government overreach, and restrict individual liberty. I leave you with this. The first country to acquire medical licenses was China. The second was Arabia. Do we really want to look for precedent from the capitals of communism and Islam? Thank you.
We will now move into group 2 of cross-examinations. Would group with interrogator of the affirming and a defender of the opposing please approach the podiums? Affirmative interrogator, your time will begin now.
Thank you, audience, for joining us today. For my first question, I would simply like to clarify. Earlier, you had mentioned that in order to fix malpractice, you want to do away with malpractice and remove medical licenses and standards for doctors and medical professionals. Is that correct?
We're making it to where you don't have to pursue a license if you don't want to, and you can still practice medicine.
Yes, but earlier you were specifically pointing out malpractice suits. So in order to remove malpractice and limit it, you are actually removing the standards by which malpractice occurs.
Yes.
Thank you. For my next question, are you aware that the only way to truly know if a doctor is trustworthy or not is to put the lives of innocent people and patients on the line?
No. I mean, okay, so according to what we believe, anyone can be a doctor. You can identify as one. But think about it. You're going to go to a doctor who you think has the qualification to be a doctor. So if this one guy's offering to be a doctor, he has no medical school, no college, no nothing, no experience, you're not going to go to him.
Yes, but in order to truly understand if he's trustworthy or not, you have to go to him yourself and put your life on the line. You may survive and you may not survive. Is that correct?
Well, you can still get a license, though, because there are going to be agencies that are still going to hire people who go through license. So we're not banning a license. We're saying you just don't have to have one.
But you are removing medical license so that they are no longer required.
Yes.
Thank you. For my next question, just to clarify, under the process of removing medical licenses, you would be removing all accountability for doctors. Is that correct?
No, because they can still, the patient, just like you can sue somebody when they harm you, the patient has the right to sue the doctor. They're going to go sue the doctor for doing wrong to them.
Yes, but the damage has already been done. So if somebody dies because a doctor is negligent and incompetent, who sues them? The family? And does it make up for the emotional harm and the repercussions caused by that doctor because he was uneducated and ill-informed?
Well, let's not forget, though, do you know how many, pretty much a lot of doctors who have licenses do a lot of evil, such as child mutilation, okay? That's a horrible mistake. Abortion is another one. In some places, assisted suicide is one. And guess what? These people all have licenses, and they're still telling you to do that.
But would you not agree that doctors could do the exact same thing without licenses because now they're no longer required to abide by any specific standards or laws?
Yes, but the thing, though, is the license isn't going to guarantee whether a doctor is going to do something stupid or not.
Would the opposing interrogator and affirmative defender please approach the podiums? Interrogator, your time begins now.
Thank you, judges and opponent. The opposition has sought to find favor with the crowd by saying that there is room for reformation and neglect the fact that government organizations do not tend to face any kind of worthwhile optimization. With that being said, can you give me any examples where the government taking over a private industry actually propelled that industry forward?
Can you rephrase your question?
Are there examples where the government taking hold of a skill set made that skill set better?
Yes. Let's look at medicine, for example, which is what we're arguing right now. Yes, it absolutely needs reform, but as we mentioned earlier, bloodletting in the Chinese community was very popular in California until 2010. And if we had no standards by which to gauge medicine, then that would have continued costing lives.
You think really that people, even without the licensing system, would have continued to let these doctors simply kill them through this bloodletting without, I don't know, saying, you know, maybe I shouldn't use that doctor anymore?
Yes, they continued to use the same doctors even after many people died from bloodletting and mercury poisoning. In 1870...
Sounds like the law of nature to me. The weak die, so do the dumb. Do you happen to know what the term self-organization means?
I do not.
Would you mind if I gave you the definition?
Not at all.
Self-organization is the idea that an object or system has an innate internal momentum to sustain or improve its current state. With this definition now laid out, do you have any examples or evidence that is so clear, so exponentially large, that it proves growth and optimization was a result of government involvement and not a result of self-organization?
Can you rephrase your question?
Yes, I can. Knowing what self-organization means, is it not clear that certain things would simply get better because knowledge increases over time without government involvement?
Not necessarily when you're looking at the human aspect. There are a lot of evil people out there, and a lot of evil people would continue to do the same thing throughout time. Not to mention
So you do believe that the government should take hold of private industries in order to make them better?
I believe the government should set regulations to ensure the protection of its people.
Which would be taking hold of said industries, correct?
Not necessarily, because you still have private doctors. Doctors can own their own industries. They can own their own
They
facilities.
still have to be licensed through the state. Are you familiar with the term communism?
I am. But I do not see how that's relevant.
Well, you know, they tend to take hold of all the private industries because they think that the government knows best and that people cannot decide for themselves.
Except for the fact that the government has not completely taken over the medical industry. You still have multiple outside entities. They just abide by the regulations set by the states.
Your time has expired.
Thank you.
We will now move into the rebuttals and closing arguments. Would the affirmative team's rebuttals and closing arguments please approach the dais? Your time will begin now.
Thank you. I would like to, first of all, thank the opposition. I would like to thank the audience and the judges for taking your time to hear the arguments we have proposed. I must say, I am exceedingly disheartened by the lack of research that has been presented in the argumentation from the opposing side. There have been numerous occasions throughout the night where I've sat over in my seat and I've heard ludicrous arguments stating that medical licenses should not be required. This is madness, my friends. This should not be. we have heard tonight how not only history is on the side of medical licenses, not only uniformity is on the side of medical licenses, folks, but others in the medical community not only want these, but this is there for the protection of individuals. And the very fact that people think they can do away with these licenses is ludicrous. It's terribly, terribly ludicrous. I apologize for my enforcement of these words. However, I've had brain surgery, and my friends, I would not have wanted someone who is not licensed to be tinkering around in my head. My grandfather, who's 91 years of age, does his homework, does his research every year so that he can get his medical license renewed because they are important. Folks, not only does history show us, obviously, the removal of medical licenses is not good. We have seen that. We have seen that. We have tried to do that as a nation under the presidency of Andrew Jackson. We tried to do that in the mid-1800s, and only a few years later did they realize, oh, that was a terrible idea. And they put licenses back in. Folks, it is important that we have these licenses in place. It is important that people have standards by which they are to do things. I heard the term malpractice used, and oh, did that burn me up a little bit, because I did some research about a court case called Enslin versus Kennedy, and malpractice would not be a thing if medical licenses were not in place. These malpractice lawsuits require a standard to have been breached. If medical licenses were not in place, no standard would be breached. There would be no basis by which anybody would say they have a right to claim malpractice. Folks, medical licenses are necessary for the protection of the patient. They're necessary for the protection of the practitioner. If we did away with them, more harm than good would be done to both parties involved, and I can guarantee you we do not want to see that happen as a nation. What is more, these countries that we've talked about, I thought it was interesting they brought up China. I wanna specify and say that China is not in one of the first world countries, but regardless of that fact, every first world country has medical licensing. Now, as we go to second and third world countries, they don't have medical licensing, but regardless, they have some form of medical system in place because they know that is important. I found that interesting, so I went into further research. I was like, you know, a place like Iran has medical licensing or some kind of medical system in place. It may not be as strict as other nations, but it is still in place because, folks, it is still important. One thing I want to leave you folks with is a question. If we are to do away with medical licenses, where does it stop? Does it stop at driver's licenses? Does it stop at law licenses or dental licenses?
Your time has expired.
Thank you.
Would the opposing team's rebuttals and closing arguments please approach the podium? Your time will start now.
Good evening, judges, audience, and opposing team members. It's my pleasure to present to you this evening the conclusion of a worthy and noble issue, the issue of, as you have heard many times tonight from both the opposing and affirming sides, the idea of medical practitioners being required or not required to have state-issued licenses to practice medicine. To echo Adam and what he said earlier this evening, I'd like to ask you again, who decides? We're not arguing medical degrees, but I would like to give you a fun fact. To obtain a medical degree, you are allowed to fail with a D all of your tests and your assignments and still pass and be considered licensed. We are not arguing for training licenses or for local licenses, but we are arguing whether or not medical practitioners should be required to obtain a state-issued license to practice medicine. If this issue and the answer to this question has not yet been made clear, we think they should not be required. Is it the government who should decide, who determines the standardization for the medical practices that we have in our local communities? Should we be giving the states more power, which in turn takes it from the locals and places it in the power of the hands of a select few who are typically voted on by a few active participating members, therefore creating rules and regulations that only a small portion of the state are actually in agreement with? Should we not be working to keep power at the local level, allowing, encouraging, and fostering individual responsibility and allowing the exercise of individual liberties by keeping the power within the people, allowing them the opportunity to, and encouraging them to create for themselves a constitutionally given free market where the people get to choose where to go for their care, how to express themselves if they're dissatisfied with the care they've received, and how to choose or move on and pick from another practitioner not under the same standardization by the government? Or should they want to become more knowledgeable and practice homeopathic medicine? As we've said tonight, current state regulated licenses and the standardization of the healthcare system, which has manifested itself in the form of hospitals with governmental regulated agendas, had a noble and worthy original intent, which was to prevent untrained individuals from harming patients. However, this intent has been overrun and has forced overregulation to the point that the medical society today acts as a gatekeeper opposed to a safety net, no longer keeping and looking out for the quality of their patients' care, but allowing the elites and power to be kept within their pockets, the power to decide who and who cannot be a medical practitioner with state licensing. To quote Thomas Paine, "Beware the greedy hand of government thrusting itself into every corner and crevice of industry." Industry includes those who provide care. It's been brought up often tonight by our opposition that the only way to ensure quality care is through standardization determined by a few at the state level who will decide the standard for the rest. This is untrue. The state cannot do a better job than their people, for the state is made up of their people. Local practitioners would know better how to serve their communities without state licensing, because they would understand the problems that are specific to their communities that the state may not understand nor allow for in their regulations. If these state licenses assume that the state knows best, who really decides what's safe? Is it the government, or should it be the patient exercising their own judgment with the most accurate understanding of themselves? If these laws and state licenses give certain doctors tools while excluding others, does that protect patients, or does it enrich the powerful at the expense of the patient's choice, affordability, and access to free market competition in healthcare? Why should we assume that centralized, top-down licensing government thrusted processes will produce better care than our trusted local providers and ourselves? Morally good and upright medical practitioners are not created through a program, but oftentimes have a developed sense and deep-seated heart's desire and a moral calling to care for and provide for their patients and for people. Can the government, with state-mandated requirements, regulations, and licensing, and attempts to standardize care, standardize good morals? Can something mandated by a government ensure good values, genuinely ensure good quality at local levels? It cannot. It has not, and it will continue to not. I'd like to ask you one more time to ask yourself, who decides whether we should be taken care of by the state or by our local practitioners? Thank you.
That will conclude debate 1. We will be taking a 10-minute break for the scholars. Please be back at your desks ready to start the next debate at 8:10. 15 minutes. You'll start it early.
Alone with you. Oh, with you. My heart's been yearning, my bones been burning to be alone with you.
Don't wanna leave this place the same. This is a moment. My heart is here, my heart is clay. Want you to mold it. I feel alone, but I don't feel that it is wrong if I'm alone with you. Oh, with you. My heart's been yearning, my bones been burning to be alone with you.
Go grab a match, let's start a flame, let's start a fire. Your kerosene, you're what I need to take it higher.
Go grab a match, let's start a flame, let's start a fire. Your kerosene, you're what I need to take it higher. Go grab a match, let's start a flame, let's start a fire. Your kerosene, you're what I need to take it higher.
I feel alone, but I don't feel that it is wrong if I'm alone with you.
Oh, with you. Yeah. My heart's been yearning, my bones been burning to be alone with you. Oh, with you.
My heart's been yearning, my bones been burning to be alone with you.
What's that story you've been told? What's that lie that you've been sold? You ain't still a criminal, shame don't own your soul. Got shackles in your history, broken locks and prison keys, no longer stained by the enemy. Love has made you clean. Rinsed in the blood, battle been won. Dead man pulled right out of that mud, baptized by the fire, washed in the flood. Ain't dirty no more, you're rinsed in the blood. Ha la 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 la, hallelujah. 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 Count your blessings one by one. Call yourself a miracle. His blood did the impossible. Shame don't own your soul. 'Cause if you're free indeed. There's nobody he can't redeem. Raise your hands and praise the King. Love has made you clean. Rinsed in the blood, battle been won. Dead man pulled out of that mud, baptized by the fire, washed in the flood. Ain't dirty no more, you're rinsed in the blood. Ha la 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 la, hallelujah. 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 And the saints all sing, no chains on me. And the saints all sing, no chains on me. When the good Lord comes, can't slow him down. Ain't a stone cold sinner that can keep him out. No use hiding when he's on your tracks. God gonna get his man. When the good Lord comes, can't slow him down. Ain't a stone cold sinner that can keep him out. No use hiding when he's on your tracks. God gonna get his man. Yeah, God gonna get his man. Rinsed in the blood.
This world is always trying to tell me I need more. A bigger house, a couple cars will fill the void. But then I get it and I still feel just as poor. So I tell all that to head right out the door. Cause I woke up with a good thing laying by my side. I woke up to some birds singing, hey look, I'm alive. I got my family, Jesus, and my health. And if I got all that, I really don't need nothing else, nothing else.
This life is always trying to get me in a rush. Keep moving quicker and one day you'll be enough. But if I do that, I won't stop and smell the roses and end up being soulless and hold nobody notices. I'm getting sick of endless scrolling on my cell phone. I wanna go back to the place I had myself known. The enemy could try to kill, rob, and destroy, but one thing he cannot take is my joy.
I woke up with a good thing laying by my side.
I woke up to some birds singing, hey look, I'm alive.
I got my family, Jesus, and my health.
And if I got all that, I really don't need nothing else.
Cause I woke up with a good thing laying by my side.
I woke up to some birds singing, hey look, I'm alive.
I got my family, Jesus, and my health.
And if I got all that, I really don't need nothing else, nothing else. No, no. I don't need nothing else.
Nothing else, nothing else. If I got all that, I really don't need nothing
I stand in front of the mirror, but I don't like who's looking back at me. Wish I could see things clearer. Oh, like who I'm supposed to be in every trial. Lift me higher through the fire. Hold me tighter. Remind me again that I was made for more. Who I am in the eyes of the Father. Who I am is love set free. Who I was, I left at the altar. I am yours, Lord, I believe. It's who I am. It's who I am. Everything has been changing. You haven't left a stone unturned. Anything I've been facing, oh, I'll keep standing on your word. In the water, take me under, fill my lungs to speak your wonder. You brought me out of the darkness, I was made for more. Who I am in the eyes of the Father. Who I am is love set free. Who I was, I left at the altar. I am yours, Lord, I believe. It's who I am. It's who I am. You gave up everything for me to have everything. For all of eternity, a song in my lungs to sing. You gave up everything for me to have everything. For all of eternity, a song in my lungs to sing. I'm a child of the Most High God, and the Most High God's for me. I'm a child of the Most High God, and the Most High God's for me. It's who I am in the eyes of the Father. Who I am is love set free. Who I was, I left at the altar. I am yours, Lord, I believe.
All right. The group for our second debate can please take their seats. All right, guys, riveting first debate. Let's hear it from the Peanut Gallery. How did they do, guys? Yeah. The live stream can't hear the applause. It was roaring applause, I promise you. All right, we got everybody on both teams? Missing someone. Ooh, points docked immediately. No, I'm kidding. All right, let me read the topic statement for our second debate. All U.S. patents should... Okay, Rick Green is changing up our format. So, wait, okay. Mr. Green is going to give his critique for the first debate, and we're going to go ahead and announce the winner too, because we can do math very fast, because we're homeschooled. Yes. So let me finish adding up those numbers. You want to come give critique first? Just do it from there? Okay. All right, tonight is Mr. Green's night.
Okay. As much as I hate it, because they absolutely had the wrong position, but the affirming team mopped the floor with you guys. I'm just telling you. The affirming team, here's the deal. They nailed the framing of the issue. And Hannah set you guys up for success because initially she reframed it to be, no, we're still going to have standards, there's still going to be protections and all of that, but the team didn't close the deal. You had hints of brilliance followed by blah. Okay, so that's my tough critique on the opposing. Let me go step by step here real quick. Nick, fantastic open, incredibly poised. By the way, this is for everybody. You do not have to lean into that mic. Way too many of you are like hunched over, like the Hunchback of Notre Dame right here in the middle of the debate, especially you tall guys. You're worried, Adam, about, being too far away from the mic. You're not. You got a great voice. We can hear you. You have great voice control. Don't lean over. There were several of you, and I maybe made notes on several of you that your notes, you've got them below the mic, and so you're having to really look down to see your notes. And so you're totally closed off from the audience and the opposition. If you're reading your speech, have it higher up. Put it on the other side of the microphone or at least next to the microphone so that you almost look like you're looking at the audience even as you're reading. And the distance between reading and looking up for the eye contact isn't that far. So even though I felt like Nick in your open, you were reading your open, but you were constantly making eye contact. So it wasn't like reading for a long time and then looking up once in a while. That's the way to do it. Okay. Let's see. So yeah, everybody just trust the mic. Talk louder if you have to be far away from the mic, but don't be all the way leaned in on the mic. That hurt a lot of y'all. Okay, let's see. Your timing was great. Your pauses, loved it. Superb. You need more variety. So you have a pattern. And you had the same great pattern over and over and over again. So in other words, it was fantastic, but once in a while, slow it down and make it different, or even almost, or it was just like the same rhythm over and over again. It's really good. You had me. I was there, but like 3 minutes in, I'm going, I need a little bit different, more conversation or something. But it just needed to be a little bit, just variety. I just wrote that note down. Just more variety. Let's see, man, you made me scared to death to go back to the old days, even though you were totally wrong on your actual position. You had me. You made me feel it. You had me convinced for a little bit, and then Hannah got up and had me totally convinced the other way. So that was great. That's what this is all about, for y'all to do that. Okay, let's see. Yeah, great, excellent posture, gestures, eye contact, all of that. Fantastic. Let's see. Yeah. And you used the example of your child, man, and I was picturing my kid. So that was fantastic. Okay, let's see. And then Hannah, you started off superbly saying what this is not. Like that was the reframing that we needed to hear from the rest of you guys over and over and over again. She set that stage of this is not no standards. This is not no licenses. In fact, there will be even better standards. There will be licenses started by associations that will be much better. That's what I needed to hear from you guys several more times. And I might have heard it one or two more times. I thought, where's Rachel? Where'd Rachel go? Yeah, I thought Rachel started out fantastic in the close with that as well. In fact, you said, Rachel, you actually used the tonality. It was great. You emphasized this is da 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 state every time you said it. You were saying with that emphasis, we're not saying no standards. We're just saying no state standards. So you did come back to it and nail it right at the beginning. I don't know what it is about the sisters. That was smart to have them open and close though. Okay. Wait, where we go? Sorry, I know y'all are in a hurry to get to the next debate. Yeah, I don't get to be with y'all that much. So okay, let's see. Then the next ones were Silas and Sam. Silas, as always, too many words. Just shrink it down, right? You got the right tonality. You got the right point. You're making the right point with it. Just simplify. Just look for ways to simplify. And I know I do it too, but you got and in there an awful lot. So just work on getting rid of those pad words. Sam, you should have been ready for that first question. It was an obvious question. Can you restate what your first question was? So way too many words, but what he's saying is, if we don't do it this way, what are you going to do? What are you going to do to stop the bad stuff? I mean, y'all should have known that was coming. That's the obvious question to ask, and you were like deer in the headlights, man. You had to ask him to repeat it, and then when he repeated it, you had a little bit of a decent response. But in other words, just more prep on what's the other side going to say? What are they going to come at? What's the obvious things? Man, y'all should have saw that one coming and been ready for it. Okay. Oh, don't ever say, I believe, I think. Nobody cares. Adam actually made that point about them in a fantastic way. You guys should have made that point about Sam. Like, okay, so you believe that. Well, people believe all kinds of things. The facts are, and then come back to it. So you actually gave it to them, but they didn't pounce on it like they should have. They had you on that one, so you got away with it. But anyway, so everybody needs to work on that. Adam, you nailed it. I can't remember. It wasn't I believe. You said something. There was something else that it was opinion, personal opinion. That's what it was. Yeah. So well done on nailing that on the personal opinion thing. You were great at not compromising on your team statement. You wanted to defend you and Brody both, but y'all both. It's a little bit too much bravado and not enough actual reasoning and logic and facts to throw at them. Let's see. Okay, then it was Reese against Silas, right? Wasn't Reese asking Silas questions? Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of notes about that one. I thought y'all had a good exchange and you both did well. Then it was Elena and Adam. Let's see, Elena, I had your definition's fantastic. Your conclusion was great. What I didn't like was I may have missed it. You may have gotten it, but I didn't hear any actual rebuttal to some of the things that Hannah had set up in the opening that I thought were really good. It was almost like you had your rebuttal prepared, but you didn't actually respond to the things they said from the microphone. I'm assuming y'all didn't know what each other was going to say, right? No, nobody heard that. So that was just, I felt like yours was already canned and prepared, and there wasn't any on the fly. Oh yeah, they said this thing over here, but that's crazy. You know what I mean? I just felt like there wasn't enough actual rebuttal in there. You did bring up, I think you were the one that brought, the bloodletting, was that you or Avery? I can't remember. Y'all both were letting that, okay, sorry, I can't remember what I had there. Oh yeah, you had no pad words, but that's because you were reading, right? So more eye contact. You were one of the ones I was thinking, okay, she's looking up once in a while, but you also, I don't know who you were looking at, maybe Hannah, but you looked at the same person every time too. So just try to, what was so wild the other night when you were impromptu and off the cuff, out of this world amazing. When you were trying to get everything right, it felt like somebody put you in a box. I want you to be able to, go be a peacock. Go, what is it, Mark Wahlberg's line? Let me fly, or I can't remember. Anyway, bottom line is let go. You don't let them put you in the box of, it's a debate, yes, but it's not about just winning the points. You got to win the hearts and minds. And when you smile and you go, do your thing, you win the hearts and minds. So anyway, more of what you did the other night. More eye contact, and then more inflection. That's what it was too. I felt like you were too rote, and you can read. It's fine to read. Like you were reading, but there was a little bit more inflection in different places. Okay, let's see. Adam, just superb on redefine. You did come back to redefining it. There was one statement you made where you were telling the story, which I thought was fantastic. You made it personal and you were bringing it home real. You said, and I may have gotten this totally wrong, but you said my father should be the one something instead of my parents. So I felt like you might have been a little bit. Yes. Yes. But there was something where you were pitting them against the doctor, like who should be the one making the decision, and you said it should be my father instead of them. I just thought you needed to say my parents there instead of my father. Anyway, it's a little bitty thing. Let's see. Oh, let's see. You claimed they had presented no evidence, and I thought this is your rebuttal. They did present some evidence. Respond to that specific evidence. Don't just act like it didn't happen. And then you went on to say, to actually respond to standardization. So in other words, I thought maybe that was not congruent with what you said later. But I love that you did respond to their arguments about standardization, they were saying that there would only be a state license. You did address there would be a local license. I love that you responded to the whole opinion thing. That was superb. Okay. Oh, stand up, man. Just stand up. Don't lean over. I know it's tough because you're tall and you're thinking you got to get in the mic. I already said that. Just move your notes higher. Okay, then Avery and Jack, just outstanding. I think, should we go ahead and say that she was our outstanding? Is it too? Are we not supposed to do that yet? Okay. That you were our, what do we call it? Wait, where'd it go? Standout student bonus. So that was you. And Nick, you were really close to being the. So yeah, I just thought your questions were well stated. You responded well. All your communication skills and eye contact. I'm speeding up because I know y'all are going, will this guy ever shut up? Yeah, it was outstanding. Yeah. Where'd Jack go? Where's Jack? Behind me. Okay, Jack. So I love the fact that each time you would say no or yes, you would answer it. That's great. You got to do that. And then, but you just needed a little bit more follow-up with specifics. And instead of pad words, I thought it was funny. You didn't have pad words. You had pad phrases. So like you said, the thing is though, like that's one of your pad phrases. So you just need to get rid of those extra ones. And then don't eat the mic. You were one of the ones that was literally leaning in and just like right on the microphone. So just stand back and don't lean in so much. Okay. Yeah, I think I already said Brody, too much bravado and not enough reason and persuasion. Just going to say it a second time just to make sure. Because you've got the goods. You could absolutely go toe-to-toe with the specific arguments, but you fell into the, okay, so everybody died, so what? They're stupid. Like, it's funny to us, but you can't get away with it, right? That's your natural reaction. You can say that around the fire with us, but there, and I think Avery was sitting there going, she was like, did he really just say that? I think he really just said that. And I can't even remember what you said because I was a little bit in shock that you said it, but I thought it was a great opportunity. You could have just said, okay, so your team's plan is just let everybody die. Anyway, even though their position's wrong, your position was right. Did I say that already? Okay. Yes, followed by. Oh, yeah, you did exactly what I was looking for in the cross-examination responses better than anybody else, which was you got asked a question, you said yes or no, and then you followed it with a specific example. Like I think it was the bloodletting. That's where I was thinking about that. Whenever who was on the other side of you? Was it Brody? I can't remember how you asked it, but what was like, give me any example of whatever, and boom, you did. You're like, yes, they did this on the bloodletting. I thought what y'all missed the opportunity to do was bloodletting was the standard practice back in George Washington's day and for years. So the professionals you should have nailed them with that. Like you guys would have been standardizing and requiring bloodletting, where we're actually saying there's some people that would have figured that out a lot sooner if they didn't have to go through your state mandated system. Anyway, okay, let's see. Okay, Reagan's telling me shut up. Oh, phrase you all should pick up on, not necessarily. That was one of the ones that made Avery's work so well because she kept Brody from boxing her in. He was trying to box her in to an extreme, right? And every time, well, twice or whatever it was that you asked her, She said, not necessarily, and then gave an example. That is masterful. That's a tool everybody should be using. Okay, wait. I'm trying, Reagan.
So good after hearing.
Yeah, and y'all don't try to implement all this. Anyway, Christian, it was ludicrous how often you used ludicrous. Now, it was on purpose though, right? Because then you answered it. Or was it just because you were so passionate in the moment? Did you plan it? Okay. I will say this. Your closing was you absolutely framed, they're trying to get rid of all licenses. There's no standards. I mean, you closed that deal, right? You closed it and made it sound like they just didn't want to have anybody questioning anybody. And so that was done well. Where I wanted you guys to reframe it back to state control? No. Licenses? Yes. But they'll be done through the market. Just bringing it back to a simple answer there. Like they made it sound like there'll be no medical system whatsoever, and y'all almost accepted that and kept, you emphasized too much the individual liberties and the freedom of people to do whatever they want. Do that, say that, but then come back to, and the market will then provide this or that or whatever. Which again, I thought, Rachel, you were right there with a lot of that. Oh, by the way, honorable mention on Best All Night because of how even when I don't know if your notes were messed up or you just lost your place, totally calm, didn't panic, didn't bother you at all. And even, I don't know how many seconds it was, how long the pause was, but you just stayed right in there. That means more to me than not messing up, right? That means you can be in the situation, because that's always going to, at some point in your life, that happens. Even if you're, totally doing speeches 5 times a week, it's going to happen. So I thought that was huge. With the way you set up emphasis on state was great. I thought you did a lot like Silas in terms of a little bit too many words and lofty ideas at the close, instead of just a really simple description of what y'all are doing instead of what the other side is doing. And then lastly, you said constitutionally given. The Constitution doesn't give us anything, it protects. So go back to constitutionally protected. Okay, I know I'm being really picky on you guys. That's it. Thank you for letting me have so long. Okay.
Good job.
Y'all were outstanding. Honestly, all of you were great.
Yeah.
It was just the affirmative was better.
Yeah. All right, very well done.
Unfortunately.
Okay. For the audience and those watching online, here's our topic statement for our second debate tonight. All U.S. patents should be protected for life and eligible for transfer of ownership by the consent of the owner. All right, now we've got our affirmative and opposing taking on that topic statement there.
Affirmative opening speech, please approach the podium. Your time will start now.
Thank you. Today we are discussing patents, namely whether all U.S. patents should be protected for life and eligible for transfer of ownership by consent of the owner. The prosperity of a nation is largely determined by the willingness of its people to innovate. Patents are no small part of the innovation and prosperity that our nation enjoys. As Alexander Hamilton once said, to cherish and stimulate the activity of the mind by multiplying the objects of enterprise is not among the least of the expedients by which the wealth of a nation may be promoted. When someone creates something, he is entitled to the benefits of that creation. Patents protect those benefits. But first, we need to clarify some definitions. What is a patent? The Library of Congress Research Guide on Patents says, patents are a form of intellectual property that gives an inventor or patent holder the right to exclude others from making, using, or selling a patented invention, end quote. Patents are not a right granted by the government. Patents are a form of intellectual property which protects other properties. But does a patent originally grant the right to enjoy exclusively the benefits of one's labor, or does it provide a way to protect that right? The second most quoted individual of all our founding documents, Justice and author of the Commentary on the Laws of England, William Blackstone, said, and this is the right which an author may be supposed to have in his own original literary composition, so that no other person without his leave may make or publish profits of the copy. When a man by the exertion of his rational powers has produced an original work, he clearly has a right to that identical work, and any attempt to take it from him is an invasion of his right of property. Though directed towards copyright as a protection of literary creations, this same principle also extends to patents as a protection of mechanical creations. This is shown clearly in Federalist Paper 43, where it says, The copyright of authors has been solemnly adjudged in Great Britain to be a right at common law. The right to useful inventions seems, with equal reason, to belong to the inventor. The public good fully coincides in both cases with the claims of the individuals. So a patent protects the right of the inventor to his invention by prohibiting others from copying his invention. This means that a right to a patent is a right to protect private property. Why then should this right be revoked after 15 or 20 years? Our other means of protecting our property, such as our right to use arms to protect it, are certainly not revoked like that. Some contest that it is more beneficial to the public good that patents be limited to a few years. However, even if this data were shown, we refer once again to Blackstone, as he states unequivocally, so great moreover is the regard of the law for private property that it will not authorize the least violation of it. No, not even for the general good of the whole community. Indeed, this claim draws on the assumption that one should give up his right for the sake of the public good. At the very least, this should be called collectivism, which is synonymous with communism. Should the right to protect private property be permitted to be revoked, it would open a Pandora's box of opportunities for overreach into every area of life which could be construed to pertain to the public good. Compromising the right to property for the sake of the public good is simply not acceptable. Another aspect of the issue of shortened patents is the alternative of trade secrets. Trade secrets are when an inventor decides to keep the details of his invention secret so that competitors cannot copy it. If patents were to only be for a short period of time, while trade secrets would be as long as the inventors maintain secrecy, possibly indefinitely, which do you think inventors would be more likely to pursue? Trade secrets are detrimental to the expansion of knowledge, as it creates an environment of distrust and inhibits the sharing of knowledge. This is a problem because, as James Madison put it, the advancement and diffusion of knowledge is the only guardian of true liberty. If we shorten patents, trade secrets are our alternative. Competition is not a bad thing. However, if competition is created through the taking of another's labor, it is no free market competition at all. Now, none of this should be construed to mean that patents should be indefinite. The concept of securing patents for life is not advocating for unlimited time. The concept of securing patents for life is, in fact, a limited time, as an author has a limited lifetime. This is self-explanatory. When the Founding Fathers specified that patents were for a limited time, they were ensuring that no invention would remain off limits forever. We are not contesting that they should. We, in granting patents for the lifetime of an author, remain true to the conditions the founders set, while realigning the current system to be more in line with the principles of the free market and private property. Finally, if inventions are private property, and patents protect the right to one's own invention, then it follows that the creator of that property may transfer that property to whomever he will. This same permission is also granted to copyrights and trademarks. The right to protect the fruit of your hands is a priceless blessing which we have been granted, and patents are a crucial part of American society and should not be diminished in any way. I urge you, as we consider this subject, to consider the impact patents have had and the protection of inventions have had on our nation. This is not a petty subject. It is a question of our fundamental, God-given rights and the future of America's inventors. Thank you.
Would opposing team opening speech please approach the dais? Your time will start now.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Millie Herzog. As the affirmative team has stated, our debate concerns patents. Particularly, it concerns whether they ought to be unlimited or limited. Does it benefit the economy when a patent lasts indefinitely? Or is it better to restrict their length with term limits? We cannot answer these questions until we understand what a patent's purpose is and why anyone would want a patent in the first place. Rebecca stated that a patent is not government granted when it actually is. A patent is a government granted monopoly privilege as it forcibly excludes all other inventors from using a patent holder's idea. Let's take a step back in history to 1474, when the first modern patent law originated in the Republic of Venice. Its goal was to encourage technological advancements, and it did so by ensuring private grants. The patent statute established that any person who created a new, unique device that was not previously made within the territory was entitled to stop anyone else from using their idea. The patent would grant the inventor exclusive rights to his creation for a period of 10 years, ensuring that he had a fair chance to profit from his idea. It also required him to share any details of his creation with the public. This was revolutionary in that it recognized the importance to protect intellectual property while also ensuring that new inventions were shared with the public after the patent expired. This balance between private property and public benefit became a cornerstone of modern patent law. Nearly 600 years after the Venetian patent law, the purpose of patents in America is the same. The primary purpose of patents in America is to encourage innovation and investment. It is by granting inventors the exclusive ability to profit from their inventions. Patents incentivize individuals and companies to invest time, resources, and effort into developing groundbreaking ideas. Some of the benefits of this allow inventors to monetize their creation, but it also creates a public record of knowledge by contributing their inventions. At its core, a patent's purpose is to promote free market progress. Inventions fuel the market, but it demands dedication and risk. To create a new useful product, the inventor must set aside resources, pour out his energy, and give up his time. Patents encourage this risk by ensuring the ability to profit from the product for a limited time. We argue that in practice, limitations on patents allow others to make improvements once the patent expires. The patent system is a double-edged sword because without term limits, it undermines the very benefits which it was created to produce. Currently, an unlimited patent would protect the original inventor's ability to profit, but it would also crush the economy by punishing innovation. Recall that a patent is a monopoly, the right to exclude all others from altering your idea. Not only this, but it also stifles the original inventor's own innovation, since he alone is the only one able to produce his product. His place in the market is unchallenged. He need not worry about continuing to attract consumers, for nowhere can his consumer base find a similar product. Thus, he finds it unnecessary to expend time or energy improving his product. As the fuel of innovation runs out, the market stalls and stagnates. Thus, a patent without term limits is therefore effectively useless. Unmistakably, limited patents are fundamental to the progress of America's free market. They reward innovation by securing the inventor's ability to profit, and they increase the technological knowledge of the public so more innovation can occur once each monopoly expires. This evening, our team will continue to demonstrate both with economic and historical evidence for term limiting patents. Thank you. I conclude.
We will now move into our first group of cross-examinations. Would the affirmative interrogator and opposing defender please approach the podiums? Affirmative interrogator, your time will start now.
Thank you, judges, audience, opposing team. Before we dive into some deep questions, I'd like to clarify a couple of definitions, starting off with, can you provide a definition of limited as enshrined in the U.S. Constitution?
The U.S. Constitution doesn't provide an exact term.
Okay, moving on. Can we agree that a human lifespan is inherently limited?
The opposing team's stance does not state that the patent should last for a lifetime and end there necessarily. It continues with transferable by the owner
Okay,
without a limit on the transfer.
Okay.
And furthermore, that doesn't necessarily mean
Okay,
it's going to be a
that's all I
person
needed
who
to
receives the
hear.
patent. It will be more likely a will or a trust, a commercial entity, and those do not have a lifetime. Those continue indefinitely.
All right, but we can agree that human lifespan generally is limited, correct?
Yes, but because the
moving
patent
on.
would not be secured to a person necessarily, it would be secured to a commercial
All right, that's
entity.
all
And
I needed to
commercial
hear.
entities do not have lifetimes. That would cause the patent to practically be unlimited regardless
right.
of human lifetime.
Reminder, the interrogator has control of the time.
If an author's lifespan is limited, wouldn't granting a lifetime patent fall under the constitutional requirement for being limited?
Could you restate your question?
Sure. We agree that lifespan is generally limited. Therefore, if we grant a lifetime patent, that patent still falls under the constitutional requirement of being limited, correct?
That would be true if the patent was granted to a singular person.
Okay.
Generally, patents are
Okay.
held by commercial
Wonderful.
entities.
Is advocating for lifetime patent protection the same as advocating for unlimited patents?
Under the case that is currently the case that patents are issued to commercial entities which do not have a lifespan, patents and a patent allowed to continue for life would effectively be completely unlimited.
Okay, but we can agree that the affirmative stance is not to advocate for unlimited patents, it's to advocate for lifetime patent protection for as long as the inventor is alive. We can agree to that basis for the affirmative position, correct?
That is only the case if you restrict all commercial entities from having patents, which would effectively cause our current economy to collapse.
Okay. Do individuals have the right to protection of their private property?
Most certainly.
So why would we treat patents any differently than any other private property? It's still protection of private property. Why would we treat it differently?
Because there is a fundamental difference between physical property and intellectual property.
Okay, no further questions. Thank you for your answers.
Would the opposing interrogator and affirmative defender please approach the podiums? Opposing interrogator, your time will start now.
Thank you, judges and negative team. My first question is, are patents found in nature?
Are patents found in nature? I would say they are not.
Okay. And then my next question, are you aware that the government issues patents to incentivize innovation for the betterment of society?
I am aware of that. I am aware that they give out patents to protect the rights, the property rights of individuals, and property rights are in nature, and patents are just given to help protect those rights.
Would you agree that all modern technological inventions have been developed by combining and using other inventions?
Ideas build upon ideas, so I could agree with that.
But if every consumer had to pay dues to a patent holder of the inventions being used to invent new products forever, wouldn't that also drive up the cost of new inventions forever as well?
Not necessarily. When a patent is instituted for, say, a pharmaceutical drug, how it's created is open to the public. Individuals can go in and see how that drug is used and see what issues it addresses, and they can go and create a new formula or a new drug to address that same issue and then market it up. Patents produce incentive for inventors to do better than the previous person before them.
How would you say that as if a lifetime patent would be protecting their patent for pretty much their whole lives? So how would that incentivize them to do any better if no one else can copy their product?
So, for instance, if I had a patent and I had it for my entire life, you knew that you couldn't get a hold of it for maybe 60 years. you would be more incentivized to go then and create your own because I get to hold mine for so long. Whereas if I was only able to hold on to it for 20 years, you're like, I can live 20 years, and once it's open to the public, I can create a generic version of that patent. Whereas when you have to hold on to it, or when you know I'm going to hold on to it for so long, you then are more incentivized to create your own.
Right, so my next question, if people made less inventions, wouldn't that make less inventions more frequent?
If people made less inventions, sorry, can you say that one more time?
So if people made less inventions, wouldn't that make inventions less frequent?
If people made less inventions, would that make inventions less frequent? I believe so.
Okay. All right, thank you. I have no further questions.
We will now move into rebuttals and arguments. Would the affirmative team rebuttals and arguments speech please approach the podiums? Your time begins now.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and judges and audience for being here today, as well as the opposition for presenting a case for us to argue against. We've reached the midway point in this debate. Main points have been stated, stances presented, and evidence submitted. It is now my job to drive home the superior points. The question before us is not merely about patent duration. It's about whether we truly believe in property rights and whether the fruits of a person's intellectual labor deserves the same respect as the fruits of their physical labor. The resolution states that all U.S. patents should be protected for life and eligible for transfer of ownership by consent of the owner. I stand in affirmation because this position is consistent with constitutional structure, economic incentive, federalism, and moral principle. The opposition stated that this is a question of limited or unlimited patent time. Let's bring this back to the point being argued, which is the length of the time that the patent is limited for, not the question of limitation at all. Under United States Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 8, Congress is empowered to promote progress by securing exclusive rights to inventors. The purpose is not to micromanage markets. It is to define and protect property so that the markets can function. A free market depends on clearly defined ownership. If a person builds a machine in their barn, we do not say, you may own that for 20 years and then we will confiscate it for public use. Yet with patents, we do precisely that. If we believe in free exchange, then we must allow inventors to retain control over their inventions for life and to transfer that ownership voluntarily, just as any other property may be sold, licensed, or inherited. Our opponents argue that patents create monopolies, but a patent grants exclusivity over a specific invention, not over an entire industry. If I patent one form of hay cutting equipment, I do not own all hay cutting technology. Competitors may design around it, they may improve it, they may innovate something entirely different. Competition is not destroyed, it is redirected toward advancement rather than duplication. A lifelong patent strengthens disclosure because inventors know their rights are secure. That stability encourages sharing, licensing, and collaboration rather than concealment. Federalism was precisely why the founders placed intellectual property at the national level. Innovation crosses state lines. A uniform federal system simplifies enforcement and lowers cost. The opposition asked in cross-exam what the benefits of a lifetime patent could be. A lifelong patent system would not expand federal power beyond what already exists. It would simply redefine the term of protection under an already enumerated power. The Constitution says limited times. A lifetime is, by definition, limited. It is bound by the life of the inventor. It is not perpetual. After death, ownership could transfer by consent just as land, businesses, and other assets do. This respects voluntary exchange and prevents arbitrary confiscation.
Federalism does not mean minimal protection. It means properly structured protection within constitutional boundaries. Historically, patents emerged to encourage genius, not manufacture monopolies. In the court case DeVol et al. Versus Brown in 1845, the court clarified that patent laws are designed to protect what did not previously exist, the product of ingenuity. The opposition claims to want to encourage innovation, and this is good. We agree with this, 100%. We also agree that inventors should have time to profit on their inventions, but we say that the current amount of time given by patents today is not enough time in order for the inventors to properly profit. History also shows us that innovation requires security. In industries like pharmaceuticals, developments can take well over a decade. In technology, research costs are enormous. Many inventions fail before one succeeds. A mere 20 years, the length of an average patent, especially when much of that time is spent in research and regulatory approval, often leaves a narrow window to recoup investment. If we truly want invention rather than stagnation, protection must match modern realities. Some argue that expiration feeds the public domain, but what truly feeds the public domain is the creation itself. If lifelong protection dramatically increases innovation, society ultimately benefits from more breakthroughs, more licensing agreements, more collaborative ventures. The expiration model assumes incentives are sufficient. Yet we see patent thickets, litigation complexities, and massive filing backlogs. Over 750,000 applications in a single year demonstrate that inventors are already operating in a high-risk environment. Lifelong protection would simplify long-term planning and reduce the constant pressure to fight the expiration clock. This debate ultimately comes down to moral authority. John Locke argued that property arises when a person mixes their labor with resources. Intellectual labor is still labor. The mind's effort is no less real than the hands. In conclusion, the resolution affirms three foundational principles. 1, government exists to protect property rights, not weaken them. 2, federal authority over patents was constitutionally designed to promote progress through secure ownership. And 3, moral justice requires that individuals enjoy the fruits of their intellectual labor for life. A lifelong patent is still limited,
Your time has expired.
but limited reasonably. Thank you.
Would the opposing team's rebuttals and arguments please approach the podium? Your time will start now.
Thank you. And hello, my name is Aiden Manley. I want to thank you all for coming out tonight. It's been a wonderful time, and it will be. I want to start off by addressing my opponents, the ideas that they have shown about America. The ideas they have shown fundamentally cannot support America. And let me expound how. So I will address several of the topics they brought up. Number one, first off, Rebecca, in her opening, she stated that patents were limited to lifetime, which I would agree. A lifetime is by definition limited. However, that is not the topic they are debating. They're debating it to be unlimited and transferable to heirs and generations to follow. That being stated, she has either consented to it being limited, which in that case, we can agree. And when Ruth was up, she gave us the example of someone inventing a tractor in their barn. And, after 20 years, the government's going to come in and take it. However, this would assume that the person who made that invention does not care to maintain it. Assuming that you are just going to let your patent go and the government can take it is obviously not a good assumption if the patent is valuable and worth and they are using that patent well. If they went in to renew it, they could continue to have that patent. Is that the way that we function in our society today? No, but that is not what we're debating. We're not debating the way it is today currently. We're debating if they're to be unlimited or limited. If you would like to debate the span of length or time for the limit, We can do that another time. That is not our debate. We're debating unlimited or limited, very simply. That being said, to my opponent, I can truly sympathize with their stance, inasmuch as I understand their desire. However, America cannot withstand benefiting one individual over the whole people for an indefinite amount of time. In a view of the Constitution of the United States, William Rawle in 1829 said, "In England, the king undertook on the score of royal prerogative to grant exclusive privilege of the making and selling of articles of domestic manufacture. This practice began to be abused, and such licenses or monopolies used merely to promote the interest of the crown." In this example, we see how the people that had the exclusive right to an item abused that privilege. They profited themselves and by default stole from society. Was it their idea? Yes. Did they invent? Yes. But to live in a society and to continue to have that society to grow, you cannot restrict how people come up with ideas and continue those ideas. Let me not be misunderstood. This is not a communistic idea, as Rebecca so clearly stated in her opening, to where the individual does not matter and should be disregarded as a sacrifice for the whole. I am only saying that if you give the power of an object to an individual, it will be abused. Potentially not that individual, but if it's unlimited, what about their heir? What about their heir? It will be abused. Eventually, it will be. The better alternative is for both parties to find reward in the middle ground in the form of a time-restricted patent. Not just to life, but potentially we can have that debate in another discussion. Currently, it is set for about 20 years on average, but it needs to be a time-restricted patent. In Joseph Story's commentary on the Constitution in 1833, it states, in short, the only boon or benefit which could be offered to investors to disclose the secret of their discovery would be the exclusive, singular right and profit of their idea as a monopoly for a limited period. Very clearly stated. Our fathers, new inventors, would keep their knowledge to themselves if they feared that it would be stolen. So they enshrined patents, limited patents, into the Constitution for the sake of making knowledge available for public use. This all being said, I close my time and conclude. I hope it has become obvious that having limited term on a patent is better for all. To grant the individual a time to have exclusive right to their creation and to profit off it, if they will. It will grant the society in which the individual lives the ability to enjoy that invention and to profit off it. To have the society achieve that knowledge, and then down the road, after the patent has expired, have that knowledge come into public domain and continue growth throughout society. This is what America was founded
Your time
on.
has expired.
Thank you.
We will now move into our second group of cross-examinations. Would cross-examination with affirmative interrogator and defender of the opposing please approach the podiums? Interrogator, your time begins now.
Thank you, judges. Thank you, audience. Thank you, negative team. My first question is, what is socialism? Actually, bear with me a minute. Would you not say that socialism is bad, perhaps very, very bad?
I would say socialism
Would
is an
you-
extreme form of
would
a
you not
market
say
economy,
that-
or a command economy.
So it was a simple yes or no question. Would you not say that's bad, very bad?
I would say that it is an extreme form of a command economy.
I'll take that.
What would be very bad.
Would you not say that communism is perhaps worse?
Communism is, I would say, synonymous with socialism on many fronts.
So why then are you attempting to prop up collectivism? Actually,
So-
but before we get into that, I must ask, are you aware of the resolution we are debating today?
I'm hyper aware of it. Are you aware of it?
Very much so. Would you like me to? I'll read it just to see if you are operating on the same page. The resolution is all U.S. patents should be protected for life and eligible for transfer
And
of
eligible
the
for
ownership
transfer,
by
that's right.
consent of the owner.
By consent of the owner.
Exactly.
Can you
So are you aware of that?
I'm aware of that. I'm aware of that, yes.
Glad to hear it. My next question then is, within that framing, how do you say that this is a matter of unlimited? No person or company lasts forever, correct?
Companies don't die, as far as I'm concerned. So they'll survive as long as the state survives if they're maintained. A person will die, yes, but and according to your stance, they can continue on. Our stance, the difference between our two prompts is that yours is unlimited,
well, I mean, we
and
both have
ours
the
is
same
limited. So you guys are
resolution.
just trying to avoid your prompt, and actually what you've done is you've conceded to our prompt in the process.
Have we? Because I
have.
agree very much with the statements that your opener made. It was very well said.
Yeah.
But my question then comes down to, who are you to say that the government has the right to take away someone else's property
The
and give
patent
it to
is
the
not
masses?
a piece of property that
No,
is
no, no, the
inherent to the
the
state of
patent is not-
nature.
wait, wait, wait.
Yep.
Do you agree that the patent, we all agree that the patent is not property, but do you agree that the patent is the government securing the property rights of the people?
Yes,
correct?
so long as it is
Thank
for
you
a
very much for
limited
the
time.
answer.
If it is not for a limited
I would-
time, it actually usurps the original purpose of
How-
the patent by causing market conditions that actually worsen the initial intended
I would have
effect
to
of
see,
the
I would
of
have
the
to
patent.
see some evidence.
So, for
of this,
instance,
but
if you,
wait, wait,
if
but-
I'm
but-
marketing, if I make
before
light
you
bulbs,
pontificate any further, I
Sure.
have to ask. We already have copyright laws that do the same thing, and that is intellectual
time is
property.
so copyrights are different than patents.
Your time has expired.
Thank you very much.
Would the opposing interrogator and the affirmative defender please approach the podium?
Interrogator, your time will begin now.
Thank you. My first question is, if patents are not granted by the government, where do we get them from?
If patents were not granted by the government, then they would be through a separate entity in the private market.
Okay. And earlier, Tate brought up, he quoted, ideas bring about ideas. If an inventor has an unlimited patent, how would others build upon those inventions and improve them without inflating the market?
That is the free market, and capitalism is taking something and finding how you can make it better. Also, it is not unlimited, it is for their life.
Yes, but it can be willed to the next generation and for the generations on. Say, if Thomas Edison's family still held the patent for the light bulb, what would the world look like today?
Free market, competition, people back then would look at the light bulb and analyze
If
it
you
and see how
were
they can make it better.
building a wall and I laid the first brick and I patented that brick, every successive brick would then have to go through me to be approved by me, or they would have to pay me if I own the patent for the brick. And every brick would keep going up and higher in price. How do you see that and not see the problem with unlimited patents?
Patents are defended for life, not unlimited. And then also you would make better bricks. Bricks, did you
Could you
create that brick?
restate
And so-
your team's position?
Yes, the resolution is all U.S. patents should be protected for life and eligible for transfer of ownership by consent of the owner, and we stand in affirmation of that statement.
So then if it was eligible for transfer by the consent of the owner, then it was transferred to the next person, then they are the owner of that. So now they are able to transfer it to the next person, yes?
Yes.
And then they can transfer it to the next person.
Yes, but there's also other people that are not going to be in that transfer loop that are going to be inventing.
If there's patents on the product and prices are raising, how are they influenced to innovate more on that product if they have to pay more to try to innovate on the product?
You can find new things or you can make it better. So for example,
How many new things can you really find though?
great example is with a medication from Pfizer and Lilly. They both found two different things and hence both got separate patents.
Your time has expired.
Thank you.
We will now move into closing arguments and final rebuttals. Will the affirmative team please approach the podium? Your time begins now.
Thank you, judges and audience. As we consider this matter, limiting patents is a multifaceted issue, and the theme connecting every aspect of said issue is found in the affirmative's case. Patents should be for a lifetime and eligible for transfer of ownership by the consent of the owner. Patents are a form of intellectual property. It has been continually upheld that a person has rights to intellectual property as well as physical property, and that is why we have so many laws pertaining to intellectual property. John Locke, one of the great influences on the Founding Fathers and third most quoted individual in the writings of the Founding Fathers, said in his second treatise of government, "Every man has a property in his own person. This nobody has any right to but himself." This undoubtedly applies to the concept of a patent because it is one's own intellectual property. In 35 U.S.C. 261, patents are explicitly defined as having the attributes of personal property. The Library of Congress reaffirms that patents are in fact a form of property, intellectual property. For no other property and nowhere in the Constitution does my right to private property simply disappear after time. If the United States of America is a free market, then patents should be protected under that free market. They should not have an expiration date before one's natural right to that property is up. If we insist on limiting patents because rather than a person have an exclusive right to what they create, they have a privilege granted to them by the federal government and is removed for the public good, then it follows we should also limit trademarks, cut down on copyright, and legislate regulations on trade secrets, also for the sake of the public good. Obviously, the people do not advocate for these changes. Why? Because they are not consistent with the principles of intellectual property and property rights. We also demonstrate that lifetime patents would not violate the Constitution because patents are still granted for a limited time, or a lifetime is a limit. Patents would in fact encourage people to invent instead of waiting 10 years for a patent to expire and then copying it. You would be encouraged to instead create your own independent invention better than the original, and thus a market of quality competition, not copying, is created. Lengthened patent times help inventors recoup high costs associated with complex inventions or pharmaceuticals. Tonight, a medical machine which takes 17 or 18 years to get functioning, licensed, and approved leaves very little time for recovering costs. Not to mention, it rushes processes, opening up opportunities for cut corners and poor quality control. Finally, a historical precedent that has been set over time, which says patents are property and are entitled to the same property protection as tangible property. This has been affirmed for over 100 years. There are, in fact, cases in America as early as the 19th century establishing that patents are protected by the same sanctions as land ownership. This clearly shows that patents are personal property. Tonight, as we close, ask yourself this. If you worked on an idea, patented it, and were only able to sell it for a limited time, and then another company comes along, copied it, turned around, and sold it as their own, would you feel justly treated? Does this sound fair? Does this sound acceptable? It is our responsibility as citizens to implement improvement where we can. As we consider this subject, we realize we are deciding so much more than the length and transfer of patents. We are deciding the security of private property, the future of America's inventors, and the very nature of American innovation. We ask that you prioritize the principles and purposes for which this nation was founded. Private property, the sharing of knowledge, the rights of a person to the fruits of his labor, and the opportunity for all to invent great creations. Protect inventors for life, and you protect the engine of American innovation. Thank you very much. And with that,
For the opposing team, rebuttal and closing, please approach the podiums. Your time begins now.
Judges and audience, thank you for giving us your attention tonight and hearing the views of both sides of this debate. My team and I hope that we have brought you clarity this evening on proper patent policy. At the end of the day, this debate comes down to one simple question. Should patents be limited, or should the government be allowed to grant them for a life without limits? When we look at the original intent of a patent, we see that patents were invented to protect progress, to encourage innovation. If we go so far as to say that we should have lifelong patents, we do not have a patent system anymore. We are only undermining the sole intent of a patent. In response to our opposing team, the idea protected by a patent is property, patent is property, so limiting them is unjust. A patent is not property, intellectual property. It protects intellectual property and creates economic monopoly. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are natural rights given to humans by God, not government. The ability to punish anyone who makes use of your intellectual property without your permission, however, exists nowhere in nature. It only comes by the government. Please recall that a patent is a government-granted monopoly privilege. It forcibly excludes all other inventors from using the patent holder's idea, preventing them from entering and expanding the free market. Unless they are limited, such monopolies are highly damaging to economic progress. Documents from the founding era reveal that our founding fathers highly valued market progress and the innovation that fuels it. The Constitution explicitly states that the sole purpose for which the establishment patents was to promote progress of science and useful arts. The founders were escaping the British patent system, under which the king and queen granted lifetime monopoly privileges called letters patent to individuals or companies, ultimately resulting in a stagnant economy. Note, not only that the crown offered favored and companies that would promote its interests instead of prioritizing the well-being of its citizens. Our founders were determined not to establish such a system in America. To summarize our position, let me remind you that the benefits of a limited patent are twofold. First, They reward innovators for developing and improving products, increasing the quality of life of all members of society. Furthermore, they require innovators to disclose the details of their inventions, increasing the public knowledge. At the end of the day, at the end of a patent limit, this knowledge is released for public use and improved, starting the virtuous cycle of innovation over again. For centuries, this system has fueled the American economy, securing prosperity to millions of families and spreading technology improvements across the globe. Imagine how different the American economy and the way of life would look today if patents were ultimately unlimited. What if a select few companies were still clung to all natural control of products you and I use every day? Imagine meal prepping on a potbelly stove. Imagine lighting your home with light bulbs still constructed according to Thomas Edison's original design, patented nearly 140 years ago. Maybe you wouldn't buy your car directly from Henry Ford, but its manufacturer still would be required to pay a licensing fees to his family, resulting in an unreasonable high price and limited access to something as fundamental as an automobile transportation. Thus, we see that limited patents are not the solution for positive change, but a recipe for stagnant and disaster, leaving our economy at a standstill. The opposing team arguments has failed to show how a lifelong patent benefit our economy. In contrast, our argument has demonstrated that only when patents are limited can they serve their original purpose. Continually, history proves that monopolies stifle innovation and result in a stagnant economy. Lifetime patents would create permanent monopolies antithetical to constitutional intent, economy, welfare, and innovation. Our stance proven the Constitution system that has enabled prosperity for hundreds of millions of people for centuries. Today, it continues to fuel American ingenuity and recognizes the value of God-given human rights and creativity.
Expired.
Thank you. I rest my case.
That will conclude our debates for tonight.
All right, guys, stand by for just a minute while we tally the.
Yeah, take like a bathroom break for 5 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, like 5 to 10 minutes. Be back here shortly.
Here I am, God, the chief of sinners, but hanging on a cross, it was finished. You qualified me for heaven when you said, Father, forgive them. Jesus, friend of sinners, your heart is full of grace. Love me long before I wanted to change. Jesus, friend of sinners, your table is where I find that someone just like me could sit by your side. The friend of sinners is a friend of mine. The friend of sinners is a friend of mine. Is a friend of mine. You got thunder in your vocal, you got flames in your eyes, you got wonder working power pouring out of your side. Check the tomb all the way through, the grave is empty inside. Ain't no other pull the greatest miracle of all time. You got power, demons cower when they hear your name call. You got power that still towers, make a lion look small. You got power to devour any counterfeit roar. Even your tongue is a sword, gallop the score. You are the Lord. You are the Lord, holy. You are the Lord, holy. swallowed up in defeat. Can't count them. How many raging seas open in front of me? How many victories? Can't count them. How many prophecies no one would dare believe? Now it's reality. Can't count them. How many broken men given a second chance? See all the lifted hands. Can't count them. How many Thomases doubted your promises? Standing and now convinced. Can't count them. How many hospitals said it's impossible? How many miracles? Can't count them. How many paralyzed living a different life go on to testify? Can't count them. How many sinners saved? How many bodies raised? How many empty graves? Can't count them.
Taking over. We ain't taking over. Yeah, hey, hey. We ain't taking no L's. No, 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 no. Saints breaking out of cells. Go, 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 go. The battle's been won. He said it's done. So we ain't taking no L's. We ain't taking no.
All right, guys, let's come back and get our seats. We'll give some feedback real quick. It's going to be over the speakers, so you can hold on to it. Never mind. Yes. Okay, let me get a show of hands. Who likes knowing the results right after? And who likes the anticipation of waiting a day? All right, Mr. Green, are you ready for your feedback? Do we have both teams back in here? Okay, here we go. Feedback session initiated.
Okay, you guys know I like being rough on you because I want you to be as good as you could possibly be. But outstanding. All. Do we want to say that right off the bat?
Yeah, here.
Really? You don't want any suspense? No, we're keeping suspense. I'm not telling you. Nope, nope, nope. Not gonna tell them. Nope. I don't want them to be able to predict what we're gonna do. Like I like doing it different every time. Okay, first of all, let me ask some questions. Who determined the final language of the statement or the topic? Yeah. Okay. I think it was confusing. Okay. Here's the thing. So, okay, wait a minute.
Let's go.
Second question.
Hold it on the floor. Yeah. Start rolling.
Let's get the mats out. Second question. Each of you, did you have help, or did the team work on your speeches, or did each person do their own on their own? So mostly individual, and then you were fine. Okay, that just helps me to kind of get a better picture of what was going on. All right. So you had the. Yeah, go ahead. Don't tell them.
I think the prompt was entirely easily understood. You guys just confused the heck out of it. I don't know how y'all even did that, but y'all just, I don't know what was going on.
Okay. No questions. All right. Let me go one by one first, and then we'll announce who won overall. That one was closer, I will say, much closer. Let's start with the openings. Rebecca, outstanding. I mean, your voice, your facial expression, it was all just great. You're just a fantastic presenter. You really drew me in immediately. I felt like you needed to clarify better, though, the specifics of who could own it, who could own the patent, who they could give it to from the beginning. I think if you had, and maybe I just missed it, but if you had better defined that, it would have, I think, stunted their ability to confuse the matter with, oh, well, you can just give this away forever. In terms of property rights and the philosophy behind it and all that, you nailed it. I mean, it was really good at saying, this is what it's really about the principle of owning the property. And what the real question here is. But the specific proposal, because of the way it was written, needed to be better defined by you what it couldn't be. So I think the second half of the proposal was just confused me. Okay. Defining competition. Remind me what your line was about, because you said something about what competition actually does. Do you remember what you said? Because I loved it, but I didn't make enough notes here. That was it. That's what I was looking for. It's not competition if you're taking somebody else's property. I thought that was great. Well done. Well done. Okay. And I also liked at your opening statement, you're like, this is what we're here to do. But first, let me do this. So anyway, pauses, all of that, great. Did think your eye contact was too much to just me. Like you weren't looking at the first half of it. You were just locking in, which was great, but everybody else felt left out. Okay. Millie. Really well framed on the government. You were right. She was wrong on the fact that government does grant it. So right off the bat, you corrected them even right in the beginning. I loved, brilliant turn of phrase to use term limits as the definition of what you already have. This is term limits on this, and of course, because you knew I was for term limits, I think that's why you did that. Love the history from Venice. I never knew any of that stuff, so I love the fact that you brought that in. The first half of yours was out of this world amazing. So good. Your eye contact, your pauses, all of it perfect. And then in the second half, you started rushing. And it was obvious to me you practiced the first half more than you did the second half, right? Second half was a little bit more choppy. Was that what it was? Or was it just something, were you worried about time? What happened in the second half? Okay. So the second half was more content they threw on you, and you had to try to wordsmith it. So here's my. So first part absolutely amazing. Last part choppy. Which part are you going to focus on? What I want your take-home message to be from tonight is how amazing you can speak if you are able to put the time and the practice into it. Because that first half, and I'm speaking from experience. I don't know how many times I've walked away from a speech going, man, if I just spent more time on that part, it was already a base hit or a home run, could have been a grand slam. Your first half was a grand slam. Second half could have been, maybe it was just them giving you too much, but if you'd had more time to work on it, the whole thing would have been a grand slam. So the take-home message is how great you can be at doing this if you'll practice the whole thing a little bit more, okay? Outstanding. Okay. Let's see. Daniel and Zoe. I don't know your rules. I don't know how Reagan and Faith set this up in terms of, I don't know why it's retain dominance of the time. Feels a little bit strong to me. On the, do y'all know what our things look like, what we grade you on? Oh, okay. Anyway. All right. I thought in y'all's, I thought Daniel and then Zach and Scott as well, way too much interrupting, trying to get the dominance back. Just let them answer first and then respond. Now, if they go on and on and on and on, there's a point at which to politely interrupt, but I felt like it was just too rough. Especially Zach on yours. I was like, just let Scott give his pontification of whatever it is he's going to pontificate on and make his point. And I actually thought he was starting to make some really good points. Let him make them and then respond to them. You just I wrote down on yours. Wait, where'd it go? Where's yours? Let him answer. Let the man answer. And then get back in there. You were controlling it too much. I think you were predicting what he was going to say, and you either just didn't want him to say it, or you just really wanted to just go straight to the mats, whatever it was. Anyway, yeah. I mean, you were incredible. All the other stuff was great. Well-spoken, you were control, all that good stuff. But I was just like, man, give him a chance to say it and then come back. And so same for Daniel and Zoe. And then Zoe maybe shorten a little bit, but I thought your statements were great, and you were absolutely defining those points that he didn't want you to be able to define, but y'all just tended to talk over each other a little bit. I love the fact that you said, I can't remember what your question was, Daniel, but your answer was most certainly, and you just left it. That's so hard to do in a debate, to not go ahead and get in some other jabs. It's like most certainly. And then you came back and made it. So sometimes just answer the question and give them that ground. I can't remember. Somebody else did that really well. I apologize. I don't remember who it was. Maybe I'll have my note here in a second. I got confused in Liam and Tate's back and forth. I wasn't sure what I thought at first. Liam, your questions were fantastic. Like you were laying out these really good questions, but then I got lost in your questions, so I wasn't sure. In fact, what you did too? I thought on your third question, you know what came to mind? The way that you asked the question, I was like, a Pied Piper pickles. I was like, what is he saying? I'm not sure what this question is. And Tate, I thought you did great at like making him clarify. Wait, what are you saying? I'm not even sure what you're saying either. And then I really loved one of your answers. You totally agreed with his, I forget what it was that he said, but you were willing to say, yeah, ideas build upon ideas, which somebody quoted later. And you were willing to say, I agree with that. And then, but here's the different conclusion, right? So don't be afraid to give some ground to the opposition. It makes you more likable when you do it. Oh, let's see. Ruth, amazing. I mean, absolutely amazing. That was, yours was the closest to a perfect score that I did all night. It was. I mean, it was, there were so many things I wanted to remember. To reframe it to, this is about property rights. You basically took what Rebecca set up. She basically set it on the tee for you, and you knocked it out of the park. Incredible. Also, same as you went back to the competition, and I can't remember how you said it, but competition something instead of duplication. Like you basically said, y'all system just allows people to copy off each other. Our system actually allows ownership and true competition. I don't remember how you said it, but it was great. There was, let's see, there was a little bit. There was a little bit towards the end. In fact, the only reason I didn't give you a perfect score because there was just one point I actually felt, and maybe it's exactly what Millie's saying. I felt like you were trying to describe something somebody else gave you, but it wasn't really yours. Everywhere else, I felt like it was yours, and I don't remember what it was. So anyway, let's see. Encourage innovation. We agree. That was another great place where you said you guys want to encourage innovation. We absolutely agree with that. So you kept taking their stuff and stating it, and then your pauses were outstanding. Like you paused just long enough, and then you asked great questions. Just really, really good. Excellent pauses. Great contrast to what you were saying, what your side was saying, what they were saying. And you even said sometimes, they say this, we say this. And your timed it. Anyway, it was just out of this world. And yes, you were our outstanding, whatever we call it for tonight. Standout student for tonight. Yes. Really, really good. Okay, Aiden is next. Where you at, Aiden? Hey, great voice. I love your voice control. I love your command. I mean, it's just fantastic. Sort of like whoever else, maybe it was Nick earlier. Y'all very similar in this to me. It's like really, really good, but just give me a little bit more variation. Better eye control. You did the lean into the mic, so you were kind of leaning over and right into the mic, so just back off from the mic. Look at more people. You were looking, I felt like you were looking up this way, like to the ceiling, or not the ceiling, but just over our heads, which David Barton does, by the way. He looks over everybody's head and doesn't actually have eye contact. Give us some eye contact instead of just looking over us. Stand up more. Don't say, I am only saying. Say we. You're up there with a team. Take I and me out of your vocabulary, everybody. It's we. But great control. I thought I got a little bit lost in some of the statements that you were making, so maybe a little bit more succinct in where you were going with those things. I already hit Zach and Scott hard enough, I guess. I was actually going to say, Scott, on the first question even, maybe it was the second one, when he said, are you aware of something? You said, I'm aware. Are you aware? Watch the snark. That doesn't win debates. I know that's fun, but it doesn't, you know. You what? You still did what? Oh, it was so good. Yeah, no, yeah, but it doesn't win. Okay. Anyway. Yeah. You're like, you gave me the wrong assignment. I want the asking questions part. Yes. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Luke and Lorelai. Let's see, Luke. Great. Your first questions were great. I got a little bit confused after that. I don't know if it was you didn't get as much of an answer as you wanted maybe to tee off of, but first part was great, and then I felt like you rambled a little bit with some of your questions. I love the better bricks. Lorelai, where are you? You're hiding from me. But that was exactly the right answer is, oh, no, it's not that we won't have bricks. We'll make better bricks, which, by the way, I think should also be, you couldn't do it. Bella nailed it with, you'd still be using Tom Edison's first light bulb. No, we wouldn't. There would be other people inventing LEDs and everything else, but nobody could respond to you because you were the last one. So it was great. You could say it exactly as you said it without them being able to respond. So let's see. Rachel, who is this girl? That was awesome. Oh my gosh. I was like, I mean, both times I've gotten you up for practice and made you get up for everybody, you just kind of froze for a little bit. This was incredible. You didn't freeze it. That was awesome. So good. Don't sway. That was the only thing, was you got this forward and backward sway thing going. That's just like your pattern that you go into. But man, your pauses like Ruth's, fantastic. Your voice was awesome. More eye contact. I couldn't tell what you were looking up at if you were looking at the timer. Is that what you were looking at, or were you just looking? That's what I thought you were doing, a squirrel thing. Squirrel over here, looking over here instead of it. Anyway, but other than that, fantastic. I mean, I literally was wow. It was really good. You were fantastic. I was so pleased. And Bella, same thing. I mean, gosh, your smile when you didn't do it too much, and you did it just right. Like you were getting serious points, and then you'd make a point and you'd smile, so I didn't feel like anyway, that was great. Let's see, I thought because it was so good, and then you had to rush because the time was running out, you didn't get to give a good power close. So this is for everybody, actually. Always prepare with cushion. Like prepare, if your time limit's 5 minutes, make your speech 4:40 or 4:30. Because it just happens every time. When you get up there, the time goes faster than you think it's going to go, or you lose your place somewhere or whatever, because then you missed that power close. You had one, I could tell it was coming, and then you had to rush it. So just to have a little bit shorter time prepared than what you actually have. Yeah, superb open as you got up there. It was like, man, you immediately pulled us in. Great pauses. The eye contact was great. Okay, you have the David Barton swallowing your words once in a while thing. David does exactly the same thing as you. And so there was a couple times, I think you were saying unlimited is bad, but it sounded like you said limited, limited patent is bad. So because you swallowed the right at the beginning. So trust me, you're in good company with David, but just know that the enunciation is super important for you because you're like him. You're just trying to get to that next thought. Okay. That overall, I thought the topic as written was confusing, but the opposition did great. I love you, buddy. The opposition did a great job of framing. You guys want no limits, and it'll be given away to anybody, and corporations will never die. And you had the sky is falling thing going, and pretty much left that out there. What you guys did great at defining and framing was this is about property rights. And how dare you take away somebody's invention? I think if you had better defined, despite how it was worded, better defined that this is only for a lifetime and it can't be given for a lifetime to a lifetime to a lifetime, that would have just completely sealed the deal. But the principle of property rights was sealed, and you guys did a great job of saying, no, there should be some limit at some point. So anyway, fantastic. Everybody, both debates, fantastic. Do we want to tell them who won? Sure. We do have to tell them who won?
I guess.
Okay. Affirmative wins on the second one as well. What do they get if they win? Do we give Chick-fil-A sandwich or anything? We do? We just a certificate? Yeah. No food, no coffee, nothing?
Yeah, no, we're supposed to take time to write them out.
Oh, I think for the next debate, I think the losing team should have to treat the winning team to Chick-fil-A. I think that would be a good. Or Reagan and Faith should treat y'all, the winning team, to
I just had a baby.
Chick-fil-A. All right. I thought it was great. Go.
All right, guys. Hey, we'll bring your certificates tomorrow to class, just so I can write stuff on them and make sure they're for the right people. So, great job, everybody. Those on the live stream, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it and learned a lot. And yeah, awesome job, y'all.
One more thing. Hey, for any of the nervousness or any of that stuff that you feel when you get it, that only goes away if you do this over and over again. You guys just keep doing this. That was so impressive. I know that most of you have had no actual debate opportunities and practice and all that. So for you to get up there and do as well as you did, everybody, is just remarkable. And so I'm proud of you. And I think that has a lot to do with Chris having y'all get up and have to, do this stuff more and more often. But the more you do it, the easier it's going to get.
Okay, but before you scoot out, let's do some team photos real quick. So just hop up there as a team. Alicia will take a photo, and then we'll get the next one up, okay?